In last week's video, we went over Ghost Recon Wildlands and gave it a pretty good rating, so if you're somewhat interested in buying it in 2021, I heavily encourage you to do so. Link to that video will be in the description below, so if you want to watch my review on the base game itself before heading into the first DLC, Narco Road, this is what we'll go over today. Let's start off by getting straight to the point here, folks. I really enjoyed Wildlands. I was really engaged throughout the game and found myself wanting to play it as soon as I got back home from work or once I woke up. So once I finished the game, I was really looking forward to its DLC content. And so I got the season pass, which if I remember, it was on sale and got it for about $15. So I had pretty high expectations for Narco Road, but let me tell you, Narco Road is a sorry excuse for paid DLC. It seems like a little expansion pack that one modder themselves could have done a better job with. I don't know what was going on in Ubisoft's mind when they were developing this, but it seems like a half-assed DLC at best. Right from the start, it has me creating a new character, which kind of threw me off as I expected to just continue off with Nomad from the base game, but I guess not. So I made another male character too. And I couldn't tell if this was Nomad or someone else as it uses the same voice actor from the base game. So I was kind of confused just from that point as to who the hell am I really. But anyway, I could have just missed some detail or something, or I could have just gone with a female version and that would have been fine. So that's not a huge big deal. Nonetheless, not a great start. Its story, however, has you infiltrate Santa Blanca's smuggling operations to take down this guy called El Invisible, whom no one knows his identity, because, yeah, of course not. Gotta make the story interesting somehow. That's gotta be the most interesting part of the story, because personally, everything else just seemed boring. I really did not care for it. Which some might argue that, well, the base game's story is just as boring or shallow, but with the base game, it gives you character dialogues, and when you take out a boss, you get these little cutscenes, and cutscenes with El Sueño showing the repercussions of your actions in the game. Narco Road, however, doesn't even have you with your team, so you're just flying solo, which that's something I really didn't like. Going solo without having any good interactions with your teammate made it a pretty dull experience for me. But aside from that, I could just not get into the story at all. Basically, the gist of the story is you had to become good friends with these three different gang leaders in order for them to give you details on who El Invisible is. So it's like you're doing these errands for them, and once you do so many and you get to the last mission, just before you kill them, they give you a detail about El Invisible, and then there's just so much boring dialogue in between. And I hate it when games do this, when they decide to put dialogue in the middle of you roaming around during your gameplay. To me, it kind of just seems half-assed. Granted, the base game did that, but they also had cutscenes and all that other stuff as well. Narco Road didn't. Majority of the dialogue that occurs happens when you're out roaming and all that sort of stuff. So I was just so bored and just was not involved with the story that whenever dialogue was being spoken to me, I had no idea what the hell they were talking about. I was just so zoned out and bored that I really didn't care what they were talking about. Granted that there are a few cutscenes within this DLC, but it's just that with the DLCs, I feel a lot more focused. I can actually tell facial expressions, I can tell tones of voices, etc., etc. So those are probably the times that I'm most involved with the story. Overall, I just did not like it because it's basically a watered down version of the base game as you're taking down gang leaders, and instead of knowing who the main boss is, you don't this time. And once you finally figure it out who it is, that's probably the most interesting part of the game. So overall, did not like the story. I would not recommend it. The gameplay pretty much uses everything about the base game in this DLC, even calling the rebels for a helicopter. Yes, you're a part of the Santa Blanca, but you can actually call the rebels for a helicopter. No, so that's the thing with it. It's you're a part of Santa Blanca, and I'm pretty sure it's them delivering you the helicopter, but instead of getting the voice actor back to actually do some, well, acting, they just reuse the voice line where you call for the rebels for a helicopter. That's how I knew right then and there that they did not put any effort into this DLC whatsoever. That is something a modder would do because he doesn't have the resources to get the voice actor back, so he has to use the resources from the game just to suffice. Which, if when you have developers that make it seem like that, that's definitely not a good thing. The side missions, they were okay. I really liked the ones where you had to spray pesticide on the coca plants, basically destroying the crops. And oh, they did improve the flight mechanics, which is something that I'll definitely give them credit for. But besides from that, everything else is just the same. Even the vehicle movements, which is just horrendous. And unfortunately, there are a lot of missions here that have you drive, which I hated. There's this one mission that you have to tail this guy to eavesdrop on him just to make sure that it's the right guy that you have to kill. And every time that you fail, it'll spawn you next to the side of the hill. And when I thought it was easier to go by car, so when I called for one, it would spawn on the hillside and not the main road. Even if I was on the main road, it would still spawn on the hillside. By the time I went up to get the car, I lost the mission because the target got so far away. And say by miracle, I actually made it to the bottom of the hill without flipping the car and was actually able to catch up to the guy. Heaven forbid a random enemy driver comes driving around by me with a minigun and sprays me down, which fails the mission, and I have to start right over. I'm fine with failing a mission because I'm trash, but not because of dogshit mechanics or RNG bullshit with people driving by me and shooting at me, failing the mission when I was just minding my own business trying to drive past them. That is definitely not my only complaint with the missions. There's a whole lot more that I have, but I just won't get into every single one of them. To sum up this DLC, it's basically a watered down version of the base game. It adds some new things here and there, like new side missions, new things to interact with throughout the map, like drifting or flying through loops or something like that. But it takes out the really good stuff from what made the base game even good. For $15 here in the US, this is going to be the first time on my channel that I would absolutely not recommend something, as it's just not good and it doesn't add anything new to the game, and the story is just boring, and it seems like this whole DLC was just half-assed. And the only reason they released this DLC was just to get people to buy it and to make some cheap profit off of it. Definitely save that $15 for something else. But other than that, I hope this video was helpful if you were debating on buying this expansion, and I'll be covering the second DLC, Fallen Ghost, in my next video, so make sure to subscribe to that video to see when it releases. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed it. Go ahead and subscribe, leave a like, comment about the video if you enjoyed it or not, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.